world. This is the Fan and Fanatic Podcast. I'm Parker Grelecki, aka the Fan and Fanatic, and with me as always is my broadcast partner,
Dad,
aka Ryan Grelecki. I've got a passion for all things sports. So, on the Fan and Fanatic Podcast, we'll talk to anyone and everyone from all over the world of sports who will sit still long enough to answer my questions.
that's right. Now, as a result of complications from severe brain damage at birth, unfortunately, Parker will never be able to physically play sports, but that cannot and has never stopped him from loving everything about sports and dreaming of a career in broadcasting. So each of our guests graciously gives of their time on this podcast to invest in Parker's dream and to help him be part of the sports world he loves so dearly.
Now, let's play ball! Welcome back, Fanatic Addicts, to the Fan and Fanatic Podcast. It's my absolute honor to introduce my guest today, the voice of the Walton Raiders, and also the voice of the Auburn Sports Network, Mr. Mark Aston. So, Mr. Aston, by the way, I hope you don't mind. Before we get into the questions, I want to do my impression of you on the air.
You did that for me live at Pope. I was describing that to my wife. I love it. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Parker Grelecki.
You've been listening to the Outdoor Alabama Countdown to Kickoff. Now it's game time. Exclusive play-by-play coverage of Auburn Tiger football is brought to you by insert sponsors here. Let's go back to Jordan-Hare Stadium with Ronnie Brown on the sideline and alongside Jason Campbell and Paul Ellen. Here's the voice of the Tigers, Andy Burcham. Wait, I have a question. Another question. When you were at Pope, when we met each other at Pope, I asked you why I asked you why Ronnie Brown. I asked you what happened to Ronnie Brown, why he's not doing road games anymore, and you said it was because he had some conflicts with his family. Not family, but his kids had sports. But I heard him during the Vanderbilt game. Is that because they didn't have anything going on that weekend?
I spoke to Ronnie at Auburn a few weeks ago because I was reading some of the promos, and it said alongside, blah, 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 blah. And I say, here's Ronnie Brown. And then also say, here's Will Herring. So I asked him what was going on, if he was going to be backing away. And he said he's got a daughter who has a very busy fall. And I think one of his sons is pretty active in football. I think he does some coaching. So he wants to be a dad, obviously. He's in the finance world, and it's my understanding he wants to be a good dad and try to do as much as he can. So I think he's trying to do less of the OA games. But I guess if there's no conflict, as you know, you guys have a busy schedule. I've got a senior at Auburn. I've got a senior at Walton. So sometimes there's an off weekend, so maybe that worked out for Ronnie. I think he's great. I think he does a great job. I think Will Herring does a great job. I talked to Will about the opportunity. He told me he was going to try to shadow Ronnie as much as he could, just so he could learn how to do it, not to take over. That was my understanding.
Well, whatever happened to Quentin Riggins?
I think Quentin, he's got some more responsibilities. I believe he's now on the board of trustees for the Auburn University system. And I think he probably did 20 plus years and thought it was probably time to move on to the next chapter. But he's still a proud Auburn man, and he's very, very active in the Auburn family.
Is there a reason why Auburn left Tiger Communications as their as the radio home of the Auburn Sports Network? Because now they do it on Wings 94.3 and AU 100, but in previous years they did it on 93.9. Tiger 93.9 and FM Talk 93.9 and Tiger 95.9. Is there a reason why they don't do the Tiger Communication stations anymore as the Auburn Sports Network radio affiliates?
I'm not sure. I know that I'm on about 50 or 60 affiliates around the Southeast. There's a gentleman by the name of Brad Law who does the 2-minute drill and things like that. And he has an office.
Brad Law.
Yeah, Brad. Have you met Brad? I talked to Brad and Andy about you when I was in Auburn a few weeks ago. They both remembered you. I felt like I was talking about a celebrity.
I think Brad Law is used to be the voice of Auburn women's basketball. I think no, that was not Brad Law. That was
There's a guy named Britt
that
Bowen.
was Andy Burcham.
Andy also did. There's a guy
Yeah.
named Britt Bowen that does it. But
Yeah, and then Britt Bowen did it. Like Britt Bowen took over for Andy when Andy took over for Rod. When Rod Bramblett, yeah.
I think you have a much
just
better
say
memory
passed
than I
away.
do. But Brad is the guy. I speak to Brad probably every week, and he sends me the scripts. I don't know if you can see this or not, but he'll send me scripts every week for promos. So I just read this the other day, and this is it's called the Tiger Talk Promo Guts. And it sounds something like this. This week, head football coach Hugh Freeze looks back at last weekend's game in Nashville and looks ahead to the week's clash with Arkansas and Fayetteville. And then they'll produce those. And then I'll read, the Tigers aim to take down Arkansas and Fayetteville. Coverage begins at noon Central on your home for the Auburn Sports Network. So they have different folks that, if you can see that or not. But Brad's the guy. So if you had questions about affiliates and things like that, I'm considered probably the low man on the totem pole. I just read what they ask me to read, and we talk about different spots. But as far as decision making, I just hope their decision is to keep using me every year.
How did you get into this role?
I was at the Bo Bikes Bama event, and I was sitting next to a guy named Jay Jacobs, who was the athletic director at the time, and he told me they were switching. Mm-hmm. They used to be part of, it was called Auburn Sports Property. I forgot the name of it, but they were switching to
IMG. IMG.
I don't know if Auburn was ever part of IMG or not. I think it was a different
ISP, maybe ISP.
You probably know better than I do, but here's the bottom line. Jay told me they were switching to a group called Fox Sports, and Fox Sports paid different colleges. And now Fox Sports no longer has the rights to Auburn. It's now called Playfly. And if you listen to the end of the broadcast, if you're still listening that late, it says, you've been listening to the Auburn Sport, blah, blah, and then it says a division of Playfly Sports. So they own all the property rights now. So they're probably ones that negotiate all the deals with all the different radio stations.
Does Fox Sports still own like college radio networks or not anymore?
I couldn't tell you if they're still in that business or not. That's a good question. You should have given me some questions in advance. I could have prepared for this, Parker.
Okay, cool. Please, okay. So, please tell everyone who you are, where you're from, and your connection to the world of sports.
I'm Mark Aston. I'm a dad of two boys. Taylor, a senior at Auburn. Andrew, a senior at Walton High School. Taylor played lacrosse all through high school, won a state championship at Walton. Andrew played lacrosse. Andrew's playing football. He's a long snapper, hoping to get a gig. To all the people that watch your podcast, maybe they're looking for a great long snapper. They're 10-0, about to be in the first round of the playoffs against Mountain View on Friday. He snaps for punts, field goals, extra points. I'm married to a lady named Lori Aston. She's from Los Angeles, California. That's where we met. Let's see the question. Who am I? How did I get into sports? I'm a former athlete. I played football in high school. I threw the shot put in high school. I wrestled my senior year in high school. I used to, when I was probably a little bit younger, you're 15. How old are you now, Parker? 15?
15.
Oh, by the 15. Way, your birthday is September 9th. My son likes talking about half birthdays. So my birthday is March 9th. So you were born on my half birthday, and my wife's birthday is September 10th. So
wow,
we got the Virgo connection. I got it with you and my wife now. I knew the second I met you, we had something special going on, and now I know why. Your birthday is one day before my wife's. You guys were almost twins, if you think about it. Well, kind of, sort of.
This is a 2-minute drill on the Auburn Sports Network.
Ryan, I think he's going to take my job. I hope Andy and Brad don't see this, because if they do, I might be done.
Oh, by the way, did Sonny Smith retire, or is he like, or does he?
That's a great question. Is he
still doing the games?
Do you know they broadcast the pictures of because they don't have the TV rights. They broadcast. Did you see they had Randall Dickey and Andy on the broadcast in in Sioux Falls, South Dakota? The Auburn Tigers take on the Baylor Bears. It's my understanding.
If I remember correctly.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. You go ahead.
It's my
You go ahead.
it's my
You were
understanding
saying?
that Coach Smith, who was actually a coach when I was at Auburn back in the 80s, that he is not doing any road games.
Yes.
He's decided to do only home games. Probably easier for him. You know,
It
travel's
just
kind of hard. Travel's hard for an old
yeah.
man like me.
So so it just so happens that so we actually knew someone in the athletic department at Auburn, Mr. Dan Heck. Do you know who he is?
I don't know Mr. Heck. No.
So yeah, he told me what you told me about Sonny, that he doesn't travel with the team anymore. So nowadays it's Randall Dickey, and then I believe when Auburn played in Hawaii back like once upon a time back in 2018. It was a man by the name of Coach Joe Champy doing the broadcasts.
Joe Champy actually coached girls basketball when I was at Auburn back in the 80s. I think Joe Champy does some work. I think sometimes Brad will fill in. Randall Dickey. I'm not sure if Paul Allen's doing it or not. Man, you know more about this stuff than I do, Parker. I'm impressed.
And is it true that the same Britt Bowen, who's the voice of Auburn women's basketball, is also the voice of the Scottsboro Wildcats?
I don't. Wow. Scottsboro's in the state of Alabama. I'm not sure. I see Dad back there laughing. I have no idea. I think I've spoken to Britt once. We've communicated via email and text messages. I've done some stuff for women's basketball. Coach Johnny Harris, I believe she's our head basketball coach, and I'll do promos and the message. Now let's go back to Britt Bowen alongside the coach, and then they introduce her, or like soccer, Karen Hoppe. I'm not sure which sports you follow at Auburn, but any of the promos for radio or on the internet, baseball, basketball, football, softball, women's soccer, stuff like that. We have the kind of goes to the announcer.
So you're the VO guy for all Auburn sports. Does that include the ones broadcasted on WEGL or Weagle, as they call it?
That's funny you said that. I literally just did a few promos for them, so it sort of matches. I've done some work for some of the other affiliates. Like there's a WAAO FM down in Andalusia. They won the state championship last year. They hired me to do some stuff for their football program. But they'll say, let's take 10 seconds out for local affiliates to do identification. So I'm on some of those. But it's Weagle is the one station that Brad wants to make sure my voice is on. It says, this is, and I forget, is it 97? Is it 97?
99? No, 91.1.
91.1. This is number 91.1 WEGL. And then it's something about Auburn football or Auburn basketball, Auburn baseball, something like that.
If I remember, because I think that Weagle or WEGL does soccer and volleyball for Auburn.
You would know better than I do. I'd have to pull my scripts up to see.
By the way, did you practice your baritone voice, or did it just come to you naturally?
I think I woke up with it one day.
Let me guess. Screaming in the closet after watching the Punt Bama punt game. I don't know.
That was in 1972, wasn't it?
Yes, and it just so happens that we actually interviewed Terry Hinley. And he's the episode that drops on Tuesday. So
nice. Well, you
might want to go.
I'm honored to be on that list.
Oh yeah, but anyways, do you do voiceovers for other things and or radio stations?
I have done voiceovers for a lot of different people besides Auburn. I've done stuff for Ford. I've done stuff for Pepsi. I've done stuff for Coca-Cola. I was the voice of Medieval Times. I did promos for some of the different soap operas. When I lived out in Los Angeles, I did some trailers for movies, some in theater and some, now available on DVD or, now available on pay-per-view, things like that. Scary movies, comedies. Go ahead.
Do you record like a different, like, let's go back to insert stadium name here for every game, like wherever Auburn is, like if they're playing at Kentucky basketball, you'll say, let's go back to Rupp Arena for alongside blah 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 blah. Here's the voice of the Tigers, Andy Burcham. Do you do that? Like, do you?
That's a great question. Brad Law, who I mentioned earlier, will send me a script at the beginning of the year, a basketball season, and it will have literally every single road game. And it'll say, now let's go back to Rupp Arena for more of the Tigers and Wildcats. Or it'll say, now let's go back to whatever that home stadium is, or that pavilion or their arena. And I do that at the beginning of the year. And then each week we'll do additional, they call them rejoins. But they probably have a library, a lot of stuff that I've done over the years, because I think this is my 7th season doing it. I'm not sure how long you've been listening to the Auburn Sports Network and that stuff. You probably know better than I do.
Actually, I think I started listening via live sports radio in either 2017 or 2018.
Okay, so yeah, I've been doing it as long as you've been listening.
Yeah, because I remember that, like, so we were in Oxford for the 2018 game against Ole Miss, and I wanted to listen to the game, but the problem is we didn't know what frequency it was on. So then fast forward a few years later, last November, I believe it was Auburn, Mississippi State. Brian Harsin was just let go. Cadillac is the interim coach, and we're sitting in Davis-Wade Stadium, and there's a nice couple who we met who literally goes to all the road games except for Georgia and Alabama, tells me that it's on E5. So, yeah. So then this year we went to Vanderbilt. Pro tip, never visit a football stadium during construction. Because, okay, look, what happened was, so the gate that we entered through, we put us at row 20, and we were all the way up at row 63. So we had to climb 43 stairs to get from row 20 to row 63.
You'd have to give me a piggyback ride if I did that. Well, my son, Taylor, the senior at Auburn, he actually went to, he didn't even go to the game. He was in Nashville. He went to a place that all Auburn people go to, I guess, in Nashville for games. And they watched it there. It was like a huge Auburn party.
But so anyways, yeah, like the frequency that we used for Nashville was, I believe, EA on the live sports radio. Oh, and by the way, do you literally have like a list of every different like intro you do? Like, let's go back to insert stadium name here alongside so-and-so here's da-da-da-da-da.
I do. It's all in the script. Oh, by the way, Parker, you should know this because I handed you my phone and about 3 seconds later, you pulled up the Auburn app when we were on that Saturday, we were playing, I believe it's the Ole Miss game, correct? When I met you at Pope. Yeah. So now they've made it easier. If you have the Auburn app, and this is not a promo for it, but I would hope people would download the app. And I was talking about you the other day going, I wish Parker would have showed me how to pull it up so fast. But bottom line is, no matter where you are on the planet, I think if you have internet access, and you pull the Auburn app up, you're going to hear straight from Andy and whoever's doing the broadcast, which is kind of a great idea. But I was looking for Auburn on the radio the other day, and it's funny you brought up Wings, and I found Wings on there and hit the Wings radio, I guess their link, and then I turn around and press live, and I literally heard, now back to Nashville, and my promo came on right when I was finding it. And I thought about you because I thought if Parker was here, I could be on the Auburn app, but he's not here. So I'm going to do the Wings app instead.
So
we still need to get together. You promised you're going to come by and visit and say hello to my wife. And I got radio silence. I think you're too busy for me.
Will you give us your address? Because
of course I will.
Does tomorrow work? Does tomorrow work well for you? Tomorrow.
Parker, you got some stuff going on tomorrow, though.
What about Saturday? How about Saturday?
Tomorrow.
Are you open Saturday?
We're at Arkansas. If it's Saturday early, absolutely, 100%. I'd love to see you guys.
Maybe we can. Would you? Okay, here's a crazy idea. Would you like to come over and watch the Auburn game with us, Auburn, Arkansas? Or are you a busy man?
You're not going to believe this, and I'm ashamed to admit I have a friend who scheduled a wedding in the fall. I hope he doesn't watch this podcast. I think that's extremely, it's like sacrilegious.
I don't understand. Okay, I don't understand what it is with scheduling weddings during football season.
Parker,
I mean,
I've been married 25
go
years. I lived in Los Angeles when I got married. We scheduled around football and basketball. I got married in May, so we wanted to make sure basketball season was over, and it was long before football season started. There's families that break up. There's friends that break up because of inconsiderate scheduling. You should never schedule a wedding during football or basketball season, as far as I'm concerned. You can call me crazy if you want. I've been called worse.
we're gonna play a game, if you don't mind.
I'd love to play a game.
It's what I call, do you have the intro? So what I'll say is, what I'll do is I'll name a stadium, I'll name a away game and or neutral site game and the year in which that Auburn has played in and the year. So 2014, Bill Snyder Family Memorial Stadium, Kansas State University. Do you have that intro?
Parker, I have scripts that I read. They send them to me. I read them, and then I throw them in a file somewhere, or I shred them. So the answer is no. If you
Right.
gave
Do
it
you
to
have
me,
that intro?
I'd read it for you.
Now, let's go back to, you've been listening to I believe at the time it was the Bancorp South countdown to kickoff.
You've been
Now,
listening. Go ahead.
Was it the Bancorp South countdown to kickoff in 2014? Or did Bancorp South not have the naming, have the sponsorship rights to the countdown to kickoff just yet?
I know it's been the Coors countdown to kickoff. It's been the Outdoor Alabama countdown to kickoff. I know it's the Regions Bank post game show. It's the Regions Bank halftime show. Bancorp South countdown to kickoff. I wasn't doing it in 2014. Let's do the math and go backwards. I can't tell you the exact year, but I think this is my 7th season, so you can figure it out from there. But yeah, they've changed it, and I don't know why people change. I know Chick-fil-A's been a pretty loyal sponsor. Chick-fil-A, Regions Bank, Coors was on for quite a while. Alabama Power is always on there. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Alabama is always there. And one of my favorites is Great Southern Wood. If it doesn't have that yellow tag, you don't want it.
Yellow tag? You don't want it. What about, were you there in 2017 when Auburn played Clemson?
Was I at the game?
No, were you the voiceover artist for the Auburn Sports Network at the time?
I believe so.
So here's actually no. Let's play. Actually, let's play a game where. How about this? Let's play a game I like to call impromptu intro, where y'all will name a college football stadium, and I'll do an impression of you at the as if you were calling on Auburn, a trip to Auburn to that stadium.
Well, that's a good idea. So I get to throw it at you.
I got one.
Right.
I got one.
Okay. First, I'll do Manhattan, then I'll do Clemson, and then I'll open it to y'all.
Manhattan, Kansas?
Now, it's game time. Let's go back to Bill Snyder Family Memorial Stadium, along with Quinn Riggins on the sideline, and alongside Paul Ellen and Stan White. Here's the voice of the Tigers, Rod Bramblett. Now, it's game time. Let's go back to Clemson Memorial Stadium, with Ronnie Brown on the sideline and alongside Stan White. Here's the voice of the Auburn Tigers, Rod Bramblett. All right, Dad, you go.
Doak Campbell Stadium.
Doak Campbell Stadium.
Now,
that's Florida State. I know that one.
Game time. Let's go back to Doak Campbell Stadium. And I think the last time Florida State played Auburn was 1990s. And I believe around that time, Charlie Trotman was the radio color guy.
Charlie Trotman alongside Jim Fife.
Alongside Charlie Trotman, here's the voice of the Auburn Tigers, Jim Fife. But I guess you wanted a current intro, so I'll give you that one. Now, it's game time. With Will Herring on the sideline and alongside Jason Campbell, here's the voice. Wait, right, Jason Campbell?
Yeah, you're right. That's right.
Here's the voice of the Auburn Tigers, Andy Burcham. All right, Mom. Now you name a stadium.
I think you just named them all.
Now do your Gene Deckerhoff though.
No.
Which one is that?
You want to intro Gene? Gene Deckerhoff it was the voice of Florida State.
Yeah, I don't think we have any interest in that one, do we?
So does Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
All right.
That's right.
Okay, but okay, so actually, wait, but now I'm gonna do a neutral game. Let's go. All right, now it's game time. Let's go back to let's go back to AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Wait, do you say the name of the city or do you just say the name of the stadium?
Depends on what Brad sends me. Sometimes it's let's go back to said stadium in Nashville. Let's go back to Sanford Stadium in Athens, Georgia, as the Auburn Tigers continue.
Let's
Georgia Bulldogs.
go back. Let's go back to AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas, alongside with Ronnie Brown on the sideline and alongside Auburn's all-time leading passer Stan White. Here's the voice of the Tigers, Andy Burcham.
You nailed it. We can't show this.
All right.
We cannot show this to the Auburn sports folks. Playflop's going to fire me.
I've always been somewhat fascinated with voiceover artists. I'll have you know.
I'm fascinated by your knowledge of all of this.
Because you remember how like I was talking to you about 90 to 9 The Game and how they have a new morning show, which is Mike Johnson, who played football at Alabama, Tiffany Blackman, who's the sideline reporter, who's a sideline reporter for used to be ESPN, but now she does CBS, and then Bo Morgan, who is the producer for the Falcons radio network. So they have a segment they call Mic'd Up, which is Mike Johnson's segment because, you know, Mike,
the play on words, gotcha.
But anyways, if you don't mind, I'm going to do their intro for that segment. So they cue in Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. It's time to rant. It's time to rage. It's time for Mic'd Up on the morning shift. All right. Anyways, what? Okay, you played at Auburn, correct?
Correct.
What position?
I was an offensive tackle. I played on the right side of the line.
Oh, yeah, offensive line. Wait, are the tackles on the line?
They are. So I do the intro for the home games.
Yeah,
you hear that?
Offensive line.
It's time for the Yellowwood starting lineups.
First, okay, all right, offensive line.
And then and then each player comes out and says, so I don't actually say the player.
Oh, yeah.
I say the position because they change them from week to week. So now I used to do some stuff for UCLA and I did like a whole library. They could just plug it in. But at Auburn, it's kind of cool because the student athletes are the ones it'll say, you know, edge rusher or quarterback, tight end, like that. And then they plug and play. Because Coach Freeze may make an adjustment right before. It's kind of cool because sometimes if you're not sure about the starting quarterback, everybody's watching and it says quarterback. And then, boom, it pops up and you go, oh, now you know who the starter is.
So I know that they do that for basketball and football. Do they do that for women's basketball too? Or just... Oh, yeah, they do that for women's basketball, but I don't think they do that for baseball.
I do all the intros for women's basketball, and I do all the, you know, now back to Neville Arena for more. And I've done all the intros and exits for women's basketball. And is that Tiger Communications? I forget. There's one of the, there's a different version of
the
that.
Auburn Network. The Auburn Network. Okay.
There you go. I should have pulled my scripts up. I didn't realize this is we may have to do this like in 3 parts. I'll be prepared the next one.
Because what I'm saying is they have they do it like they have it where the actual players introduce themselves for the men's basketball, women's basketball, and football. But I don't think they do that for baseball. I think Brad Law or Andy Burcham reads the lineups.
I think you're right. I do some stuff for baseball for the video board. And I do, you know, now back to Plainsman Park for more of the Tigers and Bulldogs or whoever it is. And I've done some of the hype videos for the video board, you know, 28 champion, you know, all the different things that they want to highlight. But yeah, I don't think the start as far as the pitcher and center fielder, I've never noticed if they do that or not. I'm not sure on the broadcast.
So when did you play football at Auburn exactly? What year?
I got there in 1981. A guy named Pat Dye, who passed away a few years ago, he was our head coach. He's a Georgia grad. He had bounced around. He learned, I think, how to coach probably under Bear Bryant in Alabama. And then he was at a couple different schools. And He was out in Wyoming, and I think it was like minus 42 degrees, and had an opportunity to take the Auburn job. I think the way the story goes is Vince Dooley was going to leave Georgia because he's the Auburn grad, was going to come to Auburn, and then Coach Dye was going to leave Wyoming and go to Georgia. And then Coach Dooley won a national championship with some little guy from Wrightsville, Georgia, by the name of Herschel Walker. And then they basically made him the king of Athens, and he stayed there. So Coach Dye came to Auburn instead of going to Georgia. And he definitely died as an Auburn man. He loved Auburn. One of my favorite quotes Coach Dye said was, Alabama fans love Alabama football. Auburn fans love Auburn. And it's so true when you meet Auburn people. They just, they love the school and they love everything about it. And a lot of those Alabama fans, they can't even find Tuscaloosa on a map. So I figured I'd put my dig there on them.
If I remember correctly, Auburn played Wyoming in 2000.
Oh, we did? See, I didn't know that. I was out in Los Angeles at the time.
Can I ask you a stupid question?
There's no stupid questions.
Did you travel with the boys when they went to Gainesville to play Florida in 2019?
I did not. As a player, I traveled there, and they used to tell us to keep our helmets on the sidelines because people used to throw things at players. So you didn't take your helmet off. Because have you ever been to the swamp?
Parker.
There's right on top.
Did you just hear that, Parker? Did you just hear that? He's always trying to give me a hard time because when I was growing up as a Florida State fan, no, you pause. When I was growing up as a Florida State fan, we used to go to that game, even if it was in Gainesville, and they were horrible. Look. And I had batteries thrown at me as like a 12-year-old boy.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
Parker claims that if he goes there, it's going to be so much better because Florida fans are so nice. I said, but you got to go there wearing garnet and gold or the wrong shade of orange and blue, and then you'll see how you get treated.
No, I'll tell you. Here's my advice to you, Parker. If you go to the swamp, just wear neutral colors. That way nobody does anything nasty to you because you're too nice of a young man.
Okay, can I relate to that? So, Dad, so do you remember Sam Weish, the ex-coach of the Cincinnati Bengals? The ex-coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. Yep. So I believe there was a game where it was snowing in Cincinnati, and the Bengals fans were tossing snowballs at the other team. And Sam Weish goes on the microphone and says, "Well, the next person that sees anybody throw something onto this field, point him out, and get him out of here. You don't live in Cleveland, you live in Cincinnati."
Ooh,
I think I remember. So in other words, I think I remember that, Parker.
So in other words, you just got Dad, you just got reverse psychology.
Sam Weiss.
I don't get it.
No,
I don't know.
Listen,
I feel like the statement is if you're in another stadium in college football and people are throwing things, you yell at them. You don't live in insert city, or you don't live in Gainesville. You live in insert city because in Gainesville they're going to throw things at you. Mark just said they had to wear their helmets on the sidelines. They were throwing things at the players.
This was back in the 1990s where no one gave a flip about what happened. Okay, sorry.
Are you kidding me? Everybody gave a flip about that game in the 1990s.
No,
Florida State
where no one gave a flip about who did what to who. That's why. Okay, I don't mean
there was no social media to catch you.
Here's a little fun fact for you, Parker. When I was in school, there was a 14-year run because Auburn used to play Florida every year. 14. You know what the run is? Auburn won 7 in a row at home, and Florida won 7 in a row at home.
Was that during the? Was that about the time in which you remember? I believe it was Wes Byram. He beat Florida off a kick and then did the Gator shot.
Well, you know who did that first? Did
Florida State do that first?
Sebastian Janikowski did that.
Sebastian he was a great kicker with the Raiders for many, many years. Now, hey, yes, who's the starting kicker for the Raiders now, Parker?
Daniel Carlson,
the one and only. And how about Anders with Green Bay now?
Oh yeah. And I think, by the way, do you think that so Alex McPherson, did you know that he's Evan McPherson's brother?
Yes, of course I knew that. He kicked a 70-yarder in high school. I've been hearing about these McPherson boys for so many years now. My kids follow all those kids through high school and everything, and I've seen him. I saw him on campus one time. You wouldn't think the guy played any sports. He's no disrespect because I'm a huge fan of his. I love him. I love the story. I actually read there's a subscription service now. It's called The Flight. It's part of the Auburn NIL collective deal, and you can pay, I think it's like $16.95 a month, something like that, and you get behind the scenes footage you can't get anywhere else. And part of that money goes to the name, image, likeness for all the student athletes, and part of it goes for the subscription. I just read something about the McPhersons, and there's 3 boys, or I should say 3 young men, and I believe one of them's in the NFL, the other one's maybe 2 in the NFL, and then there's the youngest one who's at Auburn now. It's kind of cool because he decided to stay close to home and go to Auburn. So I read a little story on that a few weeks ago.
Who knows? Maybe the Falcons could draft Alex McPherson and he could make a game-winning kick to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, that'd be kind of nice, wouldn't it?
What's wrong with Young Wei Koo? We got a kicker.
Georgia
How about
Southern.
we draft a quarterback?
Yep. So do you have any advice for me since I want to get into broadcasting?
I think you are on the right track. I think you're doing a great job. You have more knowledge and more background information and more history in your brain than mine can possibly handle. I'd say keep doing what you're doing. Practice. When you come over, I'll give you some scripts if you want, some copies of them, where I can email them to you guys, and you can look at them and change them up and do what you want and practice. I mean, looks like you've got a good little setup. I have a little closet that I walk into. It's a little studio. I close the door. I've got some, padding to absorb some of the sound. So everything you hear on social media or on the video board or on the radio broadcast, I literally record 99% of what I do is in my studio at home. Now, if I'm in Auburn, like I was there a few weeks ago, I'll go to Brad's office and read some stuff, or I'll go to War Eagle Productions and record some stuff for them there. They got some. It's quite the studio over there. It's like almost like 2 television studios. But when you come over here, we can practice and let you record something.
I'm not trying to be greedy, but you said you were going to be in Auburn for New Mexico State.
I am, and we talked. I was wondering if you're going to invite me to your tailgate or not.
Oh yeah. Do you mind if
my son's going on an unofficial visit that day, so I don't know the schedule yet. I need to find out what time you guys are going to be there, because I just read a promo that coverage begins at noon Central, which means it's a let's see, where's that?
4:00 game.
Yeah, there you go, 4 Eastern.
What is it like? The last 6, like 5 Auburn games have been 4:00 games.
Aren't you glad they're not 11 a.m.?
Yes. But anyways, cause like maybe we could meet up on Friday, rump around campus, and do you know where Brad Law's office is? Is he in there on Fridays?
Let me see.
You're not going on Friday.
Actually, I can't go on Friday because Walton is in the state playoffs right now. We have our first game tomorrow night against Mountain View, and then next Friday would be the Friday before the New Mexico State game. I'll be announcing the Walton football game. You should come. Are you going to be in town next Friday, a week from tomorrow?
You are.
Yes.
Yeah. Wait,
you guys,
hold on.
You should come
Parker,
to Walton.
hold on. Let him
and come say hi in the press box. They don't like a lot of people in there, but you guys could come in there before the game, or we could just meet on the field and say hello if you wanted to.
Do you by any chance keep all the rosters that you accumulate with your job?
I actually do not. I read them. I remember you talked about those 700 pages of programs, all the programs you have. I try to shred. I have a few of these, but I try to shred as many of those scripts as I can and throw them in the recycle bin, because my neighbor is big into recycling, so she gets on me about that. But no, I can't save all the scripts, but I have electronically. I have most of them.
Oh, cool. Maybe you could send the PDFs of each of your scripts and rosters from now on, because as I mentioned, I love collecting rosters.
Well, let me tell you a little secret, Parker. If you go to, this is not a commercial, but if you go to Max Preps and you type in high school, they have, now they're not necessarily the current roster, but you talking about high school or you talking about college right now?
Just any old roster, really.
Yeah, so if you go to maxpreps.com, if you're ever to Max Preps, it's more of a high school. I see Ryan shaking his head. You can pull down rosters. So what I'll do is, like, on Sunday night, obviously I knew we were playing Mountain View. On Sunday night, I drafted an email. I sent it to the head football coach and usually the athletic director, introduced myself, letting know I'm the public address announcer at Walton High School. welcome to Raider Valley next Friday night. Please send me a list of your current roster, who your captains will be on Friday night if you know them, any enunciations that I may need help on. And I got to tell you, I got a response from one of their coaches, and it's the most thorough response ever. He sent me the latest roster, or he sent me the list of the captains for the game. He sent me some enunciations that there's no way I would have been able to figure out if he didn't send them to me. So it was shout out to the Mountain View folks. That's a class act, because sometimes they'll just show up with a piece of paper, or they'll send it to me literally, sometime Friday afternoon right before I'm going to the game. And I like to distribute it to I've got a spotter that usually does all the Walton side. I have a spotter that does the visiting team. We've got a guy in there doing the music. We got a guy, and I see DJ Ryan over there. I was blown away by your setup at the Pope game. But we have a guy, he's got his computer, he's got his little deal set up, not nearly as nice as yours. Then we have a guy doing the scoreboard information, like the down and distance and the score. But there's something called an ECO, which is an electronic clock operator, and a PCO is called a play clock operator. And they're paid officials from the GHSA, Atlanta Area Officials Association, and they literally turn the clock on and off. So whenever somebody's getting upset, they say, oh, the clock, it's hometown favorite clock, or it's home cooking. That's all done by the officials. The home team, the press box, does not touch the clock. The only thing they do is the scoreboard part. And I'll show you all that on Friday if you decide to come to the Walton game.
Like next Friday, like
tomorrow.
Wait, tomorrow.
You can't do it tomorrow, Parker.
I can't go
Parker,
to Mountain View.
He's going to be on another radio show tomorrow.
Oh, well, so you're busy. You're a celebrity.
Wait, Mr. Aston,
Mr.
sir?
Parker.
I know that, Pope, I assume you saw that Pope actually has a scoreboard, a Jumbotron, if you will.
I
or
love
a
your
video
scoreboard.
board.
I love your scoreboard.
Whatever the correct term is nowadays. Does Walton have a scoreboard, or is it just a Jumbotron, or is it just like a video screen built into their scoreboard?
I think you described it pretty well. We have a scroll of all the pictures of all the players during the game. We have our sponsors that's sold to help fund the program. And then we have reminders about our concession stand, about snacks, and there's pictures of drinks and candy and burgers and stuff like that on there. But I will tell you, they're in much need of a new scoreboard at Walton, and Pope has an awesome one. You guys have great lights. You have a great field. You got a great scoreboard. Your whole setup is awesome. And you guys now have an awesome head football coach by the name of Sean O'Sullivan, who I'm friends with. And he's a great guy, and I know he's going to do a lot to make your program better. I know you guys just won 2 games in a row and lost to, I think, Sprayberry the other night, but congrats to Sean O'Sullivan, what he's doing over there, and he's going to get it turned around.
Wasn't there a football coach by the name of Kevin O'Sullivan?
I'm not sure. When I was a ring announcer way back in the day, there was a guy named Kevin Sullivan. He was a crazy wrestler.
Parker, are you thinking of Kevin Sumlin?
No,
Kevin Sumlin was at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, you were a ring announcer?
I was a professional wrestling announcer way back in the day.
So you did basically what Bruce Buffer does, right? Wait, were you the guy that announces the wrestlers as they come out, or the guy that does the TV broadcast?
No, I was the guy in the ring that said, "Ladies and gentlemen, this match will be one fall. Introducing first from Charlotte, North Carolina." And let's say I was doing the Ric Flair intro, or whether it's the Road Warriors, or the Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express, or the Russian Bear, Ivan Koloff, or Nikita Koloff, or Paul Jones, all the 4 Horsemen, all those guys. This is way, way back in the day. This is after I was finished playing football at Auburn. So I was the guy that was in the ring wearing either a tuxedo or a suit.
Did you know that Pat McAfee was a wrestler too?
I didn't know that. I know I knew he played. Wasn't he a punter?
Yeah,
kicker,
for the Colts.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I knew he was
West
a punter. He wrestled.
I think so.
Yeah, I couldn't figure that out. He definitely announced wrestling. He was on the NXT, which is kind of like WWE's development program. And I know he definitely announced. I couldn't find that he wrestled, but Parker claims it, so I assume it's true.
He might have done one of those celebrity deals. I played football with a guy. He's passed away now, but his name was Kevin Green. He was a walk-on at Auburn, became all SEC, became an all-pro. He was inducted in the NFL's Hall of Fame. But he did some celebrity wrestling stuff with, I don't know if it's called the WWF or WWE back then. So are we going over? We should do like 5 parts to this thing. I could talk to Parker and Ryan, talk to you guys all day.
Did you major in broadcasting in college?
I did not. I got a degree in finance. If I would have known where I was going to go, I might have gone on communications. Parker, I brought your name. I feel like every time I bring your name up to anybody, they know you. Rick Smith, Auburn's public address announcer. He invited me to speak to his communications class. There's a few football players in the class. There's a baseball player, and then just regular students, non-athletes that are in communications. It seemed like a fun class, but I'm a big fan of Rick Smith's, and I mentioned your name, and he told me, I think when you were like 7 or 8 years old, you went in the press box, 8 years old, and you actually went skipping like down press row, and somebody has it on video. So I'm jealous because I've never actually skipped with him. I've walked with him and had lunch with him, but he's never invited me to hold his hand and skip. So I need to get the old Parker G hookup.
Can I ask you a question?
You can ask me as many as you want.
When you told me about like that you ran into Rick Smith, I asked you if you ran into the voice of the Auburn University marching band, but I couldn't exactly place my finger on his name. But I did some research, and it was one Mr. Jim Jackson. Do you know Mr. Jim Jackson?
I don't, but maybe you can make that arrangement and you can get me introduced to him.
Do you think Rick knows Jim Jackson?
I'm guessing Rick knows a lot of people. Between Rick Smith and Parker Grelecki, I think I'm going to know everybody on the planet. It's like 2 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm feeling.
Matter of fact, I met Quentin Riggins for the first time at A Day, and I was like I referred to him as he who did the Auburn sideline reporting in the before time.
He probably liked that. He's probably impressed that you remembered him. I want to know when I get to experience Auburn with Parker Grelecki.
Maybe. He said maybe.
Maybe. No promises, Ryan.
Maybe Saturday. Maybe on Saturday. Would you mind? We can.
Not this Saturday.
I think
we're
like
going to go to. We'll be there for the
New
Mexico State
game. I think we tailgate right over where the Drawn Library is. Right.
Yeah.
I think your mom mentioned you guys have a spot.
Yep.
We can send you our address. We can send you the address if you want us to.
I actually was in the library with Rick Smith, so yeah, you can definitely send me. Let me know where you guys are going to be and what time you get there, because I know Andrew's got some obligations with his unofficial visit. To they bring the kids in and they do different stuff with them. They show them around, they meet, take pictures and all that stuff. But yeah, if we can do it early, as far as I'm concerned, I'll get up. We'll announce the game on Friday. Come home, go to bed, wake up. If I can get up at 6 o'clock and head on 85 South, man, I'm there. I love being on the plains. That's my favorite city in America, I believe.
Mark, I got to Parker. Hold on, I got to tell Parker. Hold on. I got to tell a story about people knowing Parker. Mark, you'll appreciate this because I assume you know Paul Ellen.
I know Paul. He lives out in Noonan. I think he worked with his wife or something. Go ahead, tell the story.
Exactly. So Parker I was doing something, and I was doing a virtual session with a group that Pam worked with at Georgia State called Women Lead. And Parker came in after it was done and asked, what I was doing. And I guess there were some people still on camera, and Pam was one of them. And he asked, Pam Ellen, is she related to Paul Ellen? I'm like, I have no idea. And so I looked up her bio, and it said something about it. So that her husband's name was Paul. So I went the next day, or whenever I saw her next on campus, I said, is your husband Paul Ellen, from the Auburn radio networks? Oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, my son, he recognized, he loves Paul, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, is your son Parker? I said, yeah. She's like, oh yeah, we know Parker. We met him at, some, alumni event or some event that the in-laws had been at. Parker was there. And of course, so Pam actually knew Parker before I ever put it together. I'm in the same place, man, and I'm his dad.
Wait,
you are no longer Ryan
Wait,
Garecki.
Dad,
You're
question.
now Parker's dad, just so you know.
Wait,
I have
Dad,
always
wait,
been
Dad,
Parker's
Dad,
dad. I thought Georgia State was the only place where I could be me, but
Dad,
I lost that too.
Dad,
What?
Dad. So, do you think can you DM Pam Ellen with the podcast info to send to Paul? Or
she has retired, so I assume she's hanging out down in Noonan with Paul.
You can't DM her.
No, she's not on our system anymore.
Hey, Parker, I have a question for you since you've been asking most of the questions today. I was telling a friend of mine, Josh Stein, about you, who has a podcast, and I tried to get you guys introduced. Did you guys hook up?
Josh Stein.
We haven't yet.
Why does that name sound familiar?
Because he's a friend of mine. I told him.
Because Mark told us about him.
He's got a podcast called Sports and Torts because he's an attorney. And I told him about meeting you. He's like, I got to meet this young man. So I think.
Wait, Josh.
He's got a company called the J. Stein Law Firm. And I think he wants to have you on his podcast. And if you want, he'll be on your podcast. I don't want to speak for him, but you guys should definitely communicate.
Wait, what's Josh Stein's number?
I'll give it to you off.
Parker, we got it, buddy. We're working on it.
Never mind. No, because I think Josh Stein I think he did some ads on the AUSN, if I remember correctly.
He's a local attorney, so I'm not sure if he would do that.
The Auburn Sports Network.
Oh, definitely not. He's a huge Georgia fan. He wouldn't be advertising on Auburn Sports Network.
Oh, never mind. Wait, he's the Steel Horse Law, right?
Oh,
that's him?
Yeah, that's a different guy.
That's George Stein. I've heard of George Stein, but not Josh Stein, because I think George Stein is a motorcycle lawyer or something like that.
Yep.
I'm not sure, law. But I'll trust you.
So maybe Josh knows George. Okay, but anyways, as a fan,
that's the line of the day. Podcast, if he knows Parker, he knows everybody.
Yeah, there you go.
So on this podcast, we are all sports fanatics. So the last question we ask, as a fan, what do you think is the all-time greatest moment in sports?
Well, one of my favorites. Well, can I give you my two favorites?
Sure.
I bet you know what they are too. By the way,
can I go ahead and say them? Yeah, the kick six, and the prayer at Jordan Hare.
Well, I guess I don't have to answer the question then. And then my third favorite is Aldel Greco kicking the winning field goal against Michigan at the Sugar Bowl when we played them in January of '84. It's the '83 SEC championship, and we've now claimed national championship. Next time I see you, I'll try to have my ring on so I can show it to you. But yeah, the prayer of Jordan Hare, Ricardo Lewis, that catch, and of course the Chris Davis run back, 109 yards. I think the NCAA only recognizes 100 yards, but we all know it's 109.
As a matter of fact, my father and I, we were two of the people that rushed the field after that game, and you can see like this much of my face on ESPN.
They had game day was there that day, and then they were in the stadium afterwards, and so I had him down there, and I couldn't see the stage, I couldn't really see the camera, so he's on my shoulders. I'm just trying to move back and forth, and you actually see at this part, like Parker's little head pops through the screen.
That's funny,
and then it goes away. I got to tell this too. So I was in Pasadena for the national championship that year.
13 seconds.
And we when we went up after that catch that Kelvin Benjamin had hold on, Parker, against Chris Davis, by the way. So the picture that we have of Chris Davis is very different. So Florida State fans are losing their minds, like we won the national championship, blah, 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 blah. And I turned on to everybody and I said, I was at that prayer in Jordan Hare, and I was at the kick six. We could still lose this game by 35 points. Everybody needs to sit down until that thing hits 0-0.
Dad, you miscalculated, my friend. How in the world could you score 35 points in 14 seconds?
How many seconds did it take to win the game against Alabama that year?
1 second.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard?
Yeah.
You ever heard?
There's plenty of time.
You remember who Alabama lost to that year, Parker?
It was either Texas A&M or LSU.
Well, there was a joke that went around for a while after the Sugar Bowl. It said, how long does it take to beat Alabama? And the answer was a second or sooner. So who beat them in the Sugar Bowl?
Oh, Oklahoma.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. You're right. Oklahoma. So we beat them.
Wait,
I think it's the only time
because was Alabama.
Go ahead.
Was Alabama undefeated going into that Auburn game?
I think they were, and we knocked them out from going to the national championship game.
Yep.
And then they turn around. I think it's the only time Saban's lost the last 2 games of the year, 2 games in a row.
2 games in a row. Yep.
You know, Auburn, a lot of people forget Auburn was in the 2 out of 5 years we were in the national championship game and won one of them. So it's not like we're, that far away.
Because this is I don't know if you can see my facial expression right now, but this was the you remember the guy that was.
I love seeing that.
So
picture
you remember
of that
like
kid? Yes, I love it.
The guy with the like so yeah.
You know, people can also see when you do that, Parker, is the fact that you're wearing both an Auburn and an Alabama bracelet right there. Come on, man.
Roll Tide and War Eagle.
Whoa.
Hey, watch it, pal.
You just guarantee there will not be a second and third segment to this podcast, Parker. You just cut it out. Oh, now you're gonna do the okay.
I got to stop telling Parker about all my connections.
Unbelievable.
And also,
you put up the U, and you know what? You can start paying rent.
It's the Utah. It could be either Miami or Utah.
No, Utah does. No, Utah does a little teeny one. They know better.
I still love you to make bad choices about things on your wrist. It won't stop my love for Parker G.
You never know if it's a dare.
War Eagle.
War Damn.
All right. Yes, War Damn Eagle. All right. Thank you for your time, Mr. Mark Aston, sir. All right, Fanatics. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of The Fan and Fanatic. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for all of your support. Don't forget to follow or subscribe, or whatever your podcast app says to do. And you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For my broadcast partner, Ryan Grelecki, this is Parker Grelecki saying, Game, Set, Match!